Well, it is, but they're not, but it's essentially a long, skinny lot. So you're gonna see a road down the side with, this is the end, so it looks like it's in but then across the face of it, she didn't call it,
You know, we'll have Scott
she
talk
didn't, she
about
said,
it.
I didn't get this from staff. So
They just don't want to come back and do it.
I mean, as you can see, less than from you away, but this was their,
They won't even
what they were,
call back.
or what they were drawing on for inspiration. What's that?
What was the event? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome everybody out this evening to the American Fork City Council meeting. Standing room only, as I can see. It is. Yeah. It is October 12th of the year 2021. We have an agenda, and we will follow the agenda that has been published as outlined. We'll begin with a public hearing to receive public comment on the vacation of apportionment of a public utility easement at 714 North, 700 West Circle. I'm going to take these one by one just to be safe. So, if anybody would like to come forward to make public comment again for 714 North, 700 West Circle, please come forward and state your name. Okay, I'll move on to the one next to it, 713 North, 700 West Circle. Anybody here for public comment on that? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and we'll move on to the regular session. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Council Member Barnes, and after which I will conduct the roll call. If everybody please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, as we come together this evening in a city council meeting, we pause and give thee thanks for all of the blessings that we enjoy at thy hand. We are grateful for this wonderful community in which we live, for the many good people who live here, and for the blessings and the freedoms that we enjoy living in this country. We're grateful for the blessing and opportunity to assemble and to discuss matters pertaining to the residents and to this city. For this truly is a wonderful freedom, and we thank thee for it. We're grateful for city staff and city employees for the good work that they do, for the concerns that they have for our community. We're grateful for our residents, for all that they do, for the good that they do in volunteering and helping neighbors and friends in the community. We're grateful for our military, Father, that protects us and assures the freedoms that we enjoy. We're grateful for our police and fire who serve us so well and put themselves in harm's way at times. We ask that thou will bless all those who serve to protect us in any way. Protect them and keep them safe. We ask that during this meeting we might have good, lively discussion, that we may be able to accomplish the things that we need to do this night to help this city continue to move forward. We pray for the leaders of our nation and all nations, that they will have desires to serve, to strive for peace, and to protect our freedoms. We pray for these blessings for the others that thou seest we need, and we do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Here, I got one. Here. Okay, I'll now conduct the roll call. Councilmember Hunter.
Here.
Councilmember Shelton. Here. Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor. Here. Okay, item number 2 is a period we set aside for public comment. Anybody that would like to make a public comment, we'd ask you to come forward, state your name for the record, and we would like to limit your time to 2 to 3 minutes. If you are here for a specific purpose, which I think in talking as I came in, I will allow you to speak at that moment if you'd like, okay? So, is there anybody here that would like to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period and we'll move on to the city administrator's report.
Mayor, I have nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll now move on to council reports. I'll start with Councilmember Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to maybe extend some gratitude to the Chamber for the debate that we were able to participate in this last week, for the time and energy that's put into that. There's a lot of volunteering that goes along in the city, and we try to recognize that, but that one specifically comes to mind in the recent week or two. And I'd also like to just report on one of the assignments that I have with the advisory committee with the stormwater management plan. We've been meeting for several months, just working on this as part of our assignment. That committee is made up of myself, obviously representing the council, but irrigation company, local residents, businesses, anyway, several different individuals within the community, as well as obviously staff and Public Works Department, and it's been a wonderful thing. The city has hired France and Civil, who's been putting that, working together with us. One of our main assignments right now is dealing with the permit generally comes up about every 5 years, and so we're working on creating or updating that stormwater management plan that's required by us as the city, to make sure that that's still in line with that update that took place recently. And so you'll be seeing that coming forward in a I don't remember if it's this council coming up or next, but you'll see that coming through. But we've been having quite a lively conversation going through that, having various, amendments and things like that. So anyway, I just wanted to report on that. It might not be something that's on top of mind for the rest of the council, and just wanted to, I'm grateful for, we've got Ernie from the water department, and you guys that are certainly way more qualified than I am to be able to put this together. But it's been fun to see that process from the backside, as it's happened over numerous months now. So anyway, that's probably my only report, just other than that, expect to see that coming soon for our vote, as it is just part of our updating and keeping that kind of living document going. So that's all I have to report.
Yes, that will be before us as council. I think it's either the next time or it's the next time. I see it coming on my head. So state mandated. So, okay. Thank you for that report. Councilmember Shelton.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Barnes.
Maybe just two items. I'll second what has been said about the debate and about the Chamber of Commerce. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think there'd be that many people there, but it was a good crowd that came to listen, and good debate, good questions, and good answers. So it was good to be a part of that. I talked about this once before, but I'll bring it up again. John Wolfenden's grandson, his funeral was held about 2 weeks ago. But I'm going to take a little different perspective on this. The fire department did a wonderful job, as they always do. If you didn't see that or haven't seen it, they took the ladder over to the entrance to the cemetery that faces Center Street, I think that is, and it's on the south side of the cemetery. And they had the ladder up and a flag hanging down from that ladder, and they had a couple other vehicles around there too. I was right downtown here, and you could see that flag from basically downtown all the way up Center Street. And they had a good escort with the police, and I think the police were involved. I think I saw a couple of them there, and the fire department was there. And as I was standing where I was standing, an individual walked out from his office and just kind of stared, because he couldn't figure out what was really going on and why this procession of fire vehicles and Unified, I think it was, brought one down. It was, believe it or not, I think that truck was actually older than I am. It was old. How they got it down here, I didn't see the semi they put it on, but they had to put it on a semi. It couldn't have been down here, made it down here by itself, but they put the casket on that old fire truck. And so it was not just American Fork, but there were some other fire departments and stuff that were involved in that, because that young boy really loved the fire department. And to me, it's just one more indication of how good this community really is, and the many good things that are done. And I really enjoyed that personally, and to see that, and the guy that came out of the office made some comments. He was quite impressed with that. Then I just thought of one more thing. I'll plug the chamber. They're going to do Halloween on Main. Are you going to talk about that, Stacy? Okay. I was asked about it by by a daughter-in-law because they want to bring their grandkids over to it because it is such a great event. And it's just another one of the good things that happens in this city. So with that, I'll be quiet.
Okay. Thank you for that report. Appreciate it. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you. I'll just say as part of my assignment with the Chamber of Commerce, also a note of gratitude for hosting a debate for council and mayor. They do it just as a service to the community. And secondly, Halloween on Main is October 29th this year on a Friday in the afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30, I believe. And that's turned into a really big event for our city. Lots of people come walk on Main Street, which is a good thing for having people on our Main Street. In addition to that, I've noticed a lot of other companies or events being piggybacked off of it, so people are expecting it and they know it's there, so they're doing other things surrounding it, which I found to be kind of cool. It's becoming part of the fabric of our community a little bit. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Thank you for that report. Councilmember Taylor.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay. All right, item number 5 for the mayor's report. I had the opportunity last week to meet with Congressman John Curtis. He had a town hall here in the city, and I met with him for about 40, maybe 45 minutes prior to that, and we talked about various things. He gave me some tips on dealing with state legislature, fiber, you name it. We had a very good discussion. I then took him to the fire station. It was the night of the open house and of our debate that we mentioned. And he made quite a connection with our fire department, especially one individual. I won't go into the detail, but there were wet eyes on both sides of not only Congressman Curtis, but the firefighter. And then today I had the distinct pleasure, one of the funnest things I've done in a very long time, of talking to about 100 first graders at Greenwood Elementary. And it was about community. They were scheduled to actually do a little walkthrough even by this building and maybe make some rounds, but Mother Nature didn't allow it. And so I pinched hit. I was asked kind of about midday yesterday and said I'd love to come over and talk to these kids. But it turned into quite a fun thing. So I talked about our community, and I thought, how do you relate to a first grader about community? And so this is 6-year-olds. And I have actually 2 granddaughters that are 6. So I thought, how could I relate to them? Because they really don't care about roads or things like that. So I talked about water. I thought they all know what water is. And I said, so when you fill water, you see it coming out of your tap, you're part of a community. That feeds into this community. And then I talked about still days. I said, who's been on the carnival? Every hand went up, I think. And then I talked about how many remembered Santa Claus last year and how he was coming through our city, and he just went 32 miles with Santa Claus. I said he was up there by himself. I was in the truck with him, but he was up there for a long time. All the kids remembered that. And then became the point where we went to a little Q&A of the mayor. And I have to share you some of the questions. Oh, again, 6-year-olds. One asked, is there a shorter number for emergency than 911? So that was one of the questions asked. And so I said, actually, there's not. And I just assured them if they ever feel like they need help to dial that number, to don't ever hesitate. If somebody they feel is in trouble or hurt, please dial that number. One very intent person, one question, I thought it was coming as a question. She raised her hand. And I picked her, and she let me know she lost her first tooth the day before. But it was about the third question where I got a little nervous. And you thought the debate was kind of heated. Well, the next question, I felt interrogated on how much I really knew Santa Claus. And how I could have such a connection to some guy and have him go 32 miles around our city. But it was all fun. And I just saw in there, just in that group of 100, I just saw all kinds of kids, just I'll say it, a melting pot of our city, of all different kinds of kids, representative from nations, different families, and bright young kids. So Anyway, that is the mayor's report, and we'll now move on to the common consent agenda, consisting of the 3 items. If you can move that screen up just a little bit, Camden. Thank you. Is there any questions for staff?
Mayor, I'd move approval of the common consent agenda.
Okay. Have a motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by
I'll second.
Councilmember Hunter. And I'll call for,
Quick comment, if I may. I
Okay.
need to abstain from numero uno because I was not here for that meeting.
okay,
We were on vacation.
that's right, you were. Okay. I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes.
Aye, with that disclaimer.
Okay. Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Okay, we'll now move on into the action items. Item number 1 is a review and action to approve a forfeiture of a surety bond posted by Merchants Bonding Company on behalf of True Trenchless. Scott, take it away.
I have to ask Mayor first, did they really not ask, the first graders not ask about the chlorinator?
No.
They didn't?
No. You know, and I thought I might get a roundabout question in there.
Yeah,
They
I
didn't even
mean,
care about roundabouts.
it's okay. So, Mr. Mayor, what we have before you, this is an item, we haven't brought very many to you. In fact, I think this is the second one we've ever brought to you in the last couple of years of forfeiture of a surety bond, and that's because we really do everything that we can to try to work with the people, get them to fix the infrastructure. This was a utility cut, and it's cutting the road, and we've tried and not getting return of phone calls, letters, certified letters, et cetera. And we need to go do this repair ourselves, and we would ask for your support with the forfeiture of that bond. And any questions you may have, ready to answer.
Just a quick comment. That is pretty unusual for a bond to go into forfeiture because they usually don't issue them to somebody that's not qualified because the bond company hates to pay these things out. And they don't charge enough premium to cover them. So good for you guys.
Thank you.
Scott, I would just like to note that there is an unusually bright sheen. You've done a tremendous job on the noggin.
I try.
I compliment you.
I did it for you.
I noticed in the packet that the trench has been asphalted and taken care of. Is there work aside from that needs to be done?
Yes, it had some temporary asphalt put in, but it's not the permanent patch that's required by code. It was basically done just to make it so that it was passable and not an imminent safety hazard, but the actual work required per code is still yet to be done.
And it looks pretty good. I actually drove over there because I wanted to see it, and it does look pretty good. It fits right in. I'm looking for the motion while I install
Here,
it.
Tim, I'll jump in for you. I would, city staff moves.
Oh,
Would you like the city
Whoa.
staff to move? Not with that sheet here, perfect for doing it. Mayor, I move to approve the forfeiture of the surety bond posted by Merchants Bonding Company on behalf of True Trenchless in the amount of $10,000 to repair asphalt located at 80 North, 300 West.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye. Do we have a blacklist?
no. I was thinking of trying to think of something clever. No, we don't.
Are we allowed to have a blacklist?
Again, maybe not to try to pick apart what you might mean by that, but do we have repeat offenders who give us different troubles? Yes. Do we know who they are? Do we have a list where we take any kind of punitive action or prohibit people? No.
I didn't mean to belabor the point.
Everyone gets treated the same.
It bothers me.
We just
Just do your job.
try
Thank you.
to work
Thank
with
you for doing
everyone.
their job.
We haven't seen that many of these.
Okay, good.
Second one in 4 years.
Great. That's awesome. Thank
Scott,
you for
isn't it
the
kind
way
of
you
like
manage
a
it.
fool me once, shame on you concept? Fool me twice, shame on me. I mean, you do it once.
Ultimately, though, this is why we do have financial guarantees.
Right, and that's why it's
And,
here, but.
and ultimately, the process works. When we get to this as a last resort, here we are, and I appreciate the council's support and confidence that we've done everything that we can to try to not get to this point, and it is very rare. So,
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. All right. Item number 2, review and action on approval of a real estate agreement for property located at approximately 1800 South and 100 West. Any questions? Scott, you might be on right up here close on all these.
Is the plan for that, Mayor, to just asphalt that in and make the parking lot bigger?
David, what can you tell us about this one, on this Tim Marina?
Well, there is already a structure
Yeah.
already on our property. This is cleaning up that property line so that their structure is on their property. And so it's just a cleanup of the property line itself.
So we wouldn't be, for instance, getting rid of those trees and asphalting over to the property line?
I wish you could see underneath the hatched area there. And maybe we can show you. But yeah, it's everything will stay as is out there, the trees and the buildings.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Mayor, I move approval of the real estate purchase agreement with Tim Marina Club and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and quick claim deed.
Okay. Have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
aye.
Okay, item number 3 is a review and action on a resolution approving a land use amendment for property located at 341 North, 300 East, from the medium-density residential to the high-density residential designation. Okay, we're missing our planner, of course, so, not yet. We're pretty close. Let me just ask, as far as staff that's here, that's familiar with this, or maybe we can just say, does the council have questions?
Mayor, I took a look at it, planning commission meeting minutes and everything of that nature. I
Yeah.
think it's pretty straightforward, so I'm happy to make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the land use map amendment for the property located at 341 North, 300 East, from the medium-density residential to the high-density residential designation.
Second.
Okay,
I just had one question that doesn't really affect the decision one way or the other, but it looks like this is the only property in that area that is high density. Depending on the way the map,
It's zoned for high density, but yeah, this is probably the
because on
only
this,
structure that.
on this map, it doesn't show any other high
Yeah.
density.
So
So
actually
I'm not
that was-
opposed to it, I was
That
just curious.
That was one of my questions. I called the city administrator, David, earlier today. The land use map shows this area as not high density, but the zoning, current zoning does. And that was kind of my hiccup, and maybe you guys can shed some light on that, because normally we're trying to move towards the land use map. And when we shift our zoning, we're moving toward that instead of expanding zoning that's already there. Yeah, any insights on that?
This is, as I looked at it and studied it, you've got, well, how do I put this? The older part of town, right? And we've seen this, we saw it with the CPA building that's now here, where front part of the lot was zoned commercial, the back part was zoned residential, and right through the middle. And so sometimes with these maps, we're drawing basic lines, and then over time, they shift and different zones are put in. As I look back and research this, I think it's good to keep it all congruent and the same. You know, Kevin, originally I looked at that, when I was there, I looked and I remember, I don't remember who did them, but it's right there next to the old hospital, right there on the corner of 3rd North, and is that 3rd East? Am I thinking of that right? You know, you got these townhomes that are right there, right next to it. Also, as I read through and you look at the condition of the older home that's there, I think this would be something that'd be an upgrade to the neighborhood. We also allow the interblock development. So as I looked at it and the densities that are allowed, I kind of think it's funny we call it high density when we're comparing maybe some of the other densities we're looking at.
It's not really high, yeah.
Inside there, so anyway,
Well, those are allowed for the zone, like you can put an apartment in that zone.
Right.
I mean, the lot might not allow it, but the zone does allow for high density.
correct, yes. So that's why I was just saying, I think that, to answer your question, why one may conflict with the other, I think it's being the older part of town as we originally had drawn. Maybe it wasn't updated at the same time that the zone was updated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm wondering why would the whole area be zoned high density when it is not currently high density? And yet our land map is saying go toward medium residential.
That's a good question for our city planner when they get hired.
I know. That's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of duplexes, but that'll still work with the R2.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's professional office there, again, like Rob stated,
Yeah.
across the street. So I think, it makes sense from the property standpoint to just include that north section. But I have no answers, and I don't know who does, but.
And I was really impressed with the packet as I took a look at it. Even though these will be kind of facing the front doors to the south, is that what I'm thinking of there? Get my directions squared away. Basically away from the frontage. I was very impressed with the packet and them trying to make it look and feel the same as a character of a single-family home as well. So I think it would fit really good in there with the existing zone that's there. The next door neighbor is a duplex like Clark had mentioned as well. So as I look at it, going with the zone that's already there, I see this more of a cleaning up. Perhaps that's something to come back and take a look at a broader picture once we get an opportunity for a city planner to sit down and take a look at it.
It might be there too, but I was gonna say, isn't half of it already zoned?
Correct, it
That's
is.
right.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton and a second by Councilmember Tater. So I will call for a vote. Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
I feel I need to vote no on this one.
Okay. All right. Item number 4 is associated with it, review and action on an ordinance approving a zone map amendment for property located at 341 North, 300 East from the R2 7500 residential zone to the R4 7500 residential zone.
Mayor, so this is kind of the sister to the one previous, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the ordinance approving the zone map amendment for the property located at 341 North, 300 East from the R2 7500 residential zone to the R4 7500 residential zone.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton,
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
No.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 5. Now it's been voted on?
Just maybe to help council members.
Certainly, because you, and then please state your name.
Julie Smith, applicant. So working with Wendelin on this, just to give you comfort, so in the high density zone, you're allowed up to 13 units per acre. But how that's based on is the first 4 units are 20,000 square feet, and then for each additional unit, you have to have 10 additional feet. Where we're only 123 feet wide, the maximum ever is 5 units. So we can't come in with an apartment building with 13 units. We are really 5 is the maximum based on the criteria that the city has. That makes it any easier. Thank you.
Okay, item number 5A is review and action on a final plat for Mott Estates B located at 485 South, 380 East. Again, we're without a planner, but we have a member of our planning commission here. We have our packets. any questions that we have amongst ourselves, and we can find answers while we're here.
Mayor, I'm pretty familiar with this parcel, and I guess I should not jump to it, but this has been in, Rob lived down there too, but this has been in the family forever, or not in the family, but in the family's neck of the woods, I guess, for a long time. The individual where the lot 1 is passed away not too long ago, and I'm sure it's just, and it's actually conducive to quarter-acre lots everywhere around that. So with that, move to approve the final plat for Mott Estates B, located at 485 South, 380 East, and to authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording to the plat subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the September 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter, second by Councilmember Taylor. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, item number 6 is, let's see, review and action on a second amendment to the land lease agreement dated October 23rd, 2018 with T-Mobile West LLC. Moving a poll. We would have George come out if there's any questions.
Mayor, I have a question. So are they moving the pole, or are we putting a new pole up? Or
So they are,
questions differ for me?
yeah, so they have decided that they needed to move the pole based on the issues that they had trying to remove the old pole. So that's what this amendment really is for, is to move it about 20 feet closer to their shelter. And so it's a new pole that they'll be putting in
So
place.
we're not taking the old pole down?
Yes,
We are taking.
yes, the old pole will be removed and they'll dig down as deep as they can and fill it back in
Okay.
and do the landscaping and everything that goes with it.
Maybe we should put a Mart dye time capsule in there.
Good.
You know, that old one there is deep enough that you could put it down about
Yeah.
18 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 feet down.
We should have started that one 35 years ago, and then we could have had a lot of fun opening it up.
Yeah.
So,
So if it's that deep, any gold they find is property of the city, correct?
I would think so.
okay.
Just want to make sure.
Mayor, I would move to approve the second amendment to the land lease agreement dated October 23rd, 2018 with T-Mobile West LLC.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Shelton. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 7 is a review and action on a resolution approving the assistance agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation for funding for the American Fork City pressurized irrigation metering project.
Mr. Mayor, I should have asked on that last one, though, what elderly people from Warsaw had to do with it. Old pole? Let me talk about this item. How about I'll move to that? Yeah, just moving on. Gee, it's a rough crowd tonight.
Some of us didn't catch that.
It's a rough crowd.
I'm glad I didn't, so I just laughed
That's
anyway
okay.
for
Well,
you, Scott.
This isn't as exciting as that one, but Mr. Mayor, this is the agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation for receiving the $1.5 million grant for the first phase of the metering project. So it's a long document. There's quite a bit there. We've read it, reviewed it, had Sherilyn look at it with us. There's quite a few different requirements. Anytime you get into a federal grant, there are some, but we're aware of them, we're up on it, and we're excited to move forward with this project. So really, as soon as we get this agreement signed by everybody, we're ready to head out to bid in the next couple of weeks, really, to get this first phase going. So any questions you may have, happy to answer.
I know we discussed this at one time, but 3,400 will cover how much in the city?
We estimate that this grant will probably do about 30% of the city. So these are really rough numbers, but about 10% of the city is already metered due to the ordinance that was passed. So we get about 90 to go. This will take care of about 30 of the total. So essentially a third of what's left.
So, Scott, just out of curiosity,
Round figures.
This talks about the AMI capability. We've talked about two different types of systems to use. You're saying, about 2 weeks away from going out to bid. I'm guessing we've decided which
So,
system we're using.
Councilman, this bid would not include any of the AMI work. It would just include meters. But we did look through and analyze which of the, really what the only difference as far as this goes is the, I'd say the transponder, that's not the right word. The endpoint is what the word is. And it made sense in just looking at it closer to use the radio network instead of the cellular network. So the transmitter, again, I'm using the wrong word, endpoints that we already have, most of them will work. There are some that are older that would need to be replaced, but not all of them. Whereas if we'd gone with the cell, every one of the endpoints that we have on the PI and the coronary would have to be replaced. That was not the only factor in the decision, but that was definitely a factor in the decision to not have to replace most of our endpoints that we have right now.
Gotcha. Have we done a study to see about the radios and making sure that would work? Just talking with other cities that have done it, they've gone through and done studies and looked at the heights and locations of those transmitter, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but receiving those signals so we don't have to have people driving around in vehicles anymore.
So,
like that.
and we wouldn't be driving around anymore with this. So, either, whether it's the tower network, I said radio, it's the tower radio network, or the cellular network, either way, we're not driving around. So we did a cost analysis working closely with the vendors to see what those costs would be. Really, a lot of what makes the difference is the per unit per month cost for the cellular was like about 75 cents per meter per month, so $1.50 per house per month. The other one was something around 15-20 cents. So substantial difference. When we proceed further and actually do start installing the towers themselves, that's where the actual siting study will, and maybe study is not really the right word, but the effort to make sure that we locate a tower here, 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 here. But we feel we have a pretty good number that it's going to be 41 to 47 locations where we would need a tower. Now that could be on things like from having to build a tower from scratch to maybe as simple as over here at City Administration Building, you put an antenna on the roof. And so there can be a cost range, and we're looking at, but in using even the high end of that analysis, it still looked like that was clearly the way to go. And then if we're able to do things, more locations like on the top of an existing tower or on top of an existing building, we're talking substantial savings versus the monthly cost of a cellular network.
Okay. I just know they mentioned that cities I've talked to is the topography is the biggest issue, right, with radio signals?
It is.
And then you also got to know what is interfering with such radio signals. I know that different federal buildings are here locally screw up some of those radio signals, so I was just wondering if that study was taken into consideration when we looked at total cost.
It did.
Some said that once they got into it, started testing it, they had to build extra radio towers just because of what's going on. But anyway, okay, sounds great. So
Well, we know we have a surplus T-Mobile tower somewhere. It's a pretty tall one, too.
An
In
old
fact,
pole.
It's an old pole. It's at our Dilano.
It's right there on the.
Okay, any other
Just
questions for Scott?
Kind of off the wall question is, and I don't want to know where, but concept wise, are we going to start at one part of the city and move from area to area? Or are we going to try and scatter these around?
So we
What's the
talked
plan?
about
Just
that,
curious.
and we can still be flexible, but my recommendation was, and what we're planning on, unless council strongly or somebody feels otherwise, was to start in the older part of town and start metering some of those connections, knowing that we won't bring to you any kind of a recommendation on looking at the rates and changing the rate structure to volume until the whole city is done. So, in other words,
So it
no one
doesn't
should
ma-
feel like they're being picked on or being left out.
I'm just curious. I
It
just
doesn't
figured
really
you'd
matter.
start at one place
We
and then
figured we'd start
kinda
kind of
start
in the
moving
center
different
and go from there.
Okay.
But,
Collecting data, I mean, we won't be changing the billing system, but as soon as those are installed, we'll be collecting data.
correct, correct.
And then another question, Scott, is when do you see the timeline of installing the radio system and full build out?
So a lot of this depends on funding, and I don't know, David, would you like me to, I can go ahead and give an explanation on some of the grants and things we've looked for, or did you want to take it away? So one of the key things that we've done is the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget, GOPB, had a program where we had to do this by the end of last month to submit a grant request for projects. A lot of it was based on COVID relief. Some of the questions we had to answer were, how will this benefit those from, who've suffered from COVID, economically impact. But then it was interesting in that it really also, the questions focused a lot on water savings, drought. Perfect. And so we have applied for a grant through that for the full rest of the project, which would be all of the remaining meters, all of them, plus the AMI system. We will find out mid-November where we stand on that. So if we get that grant, we're in business and we're rocking and rolling. We're talking, we'd have it done. We put in the grant a year and a half, 18 months to be able to give us plenty of time, although I'm fairly confident we'd be able to exceed that. That's one of the questions they ask is, if we give you this money, when can you have it done? So I think that's the longest that it could be, assuming we get that grant. Now, if we don't, there's some other funding options, and that's where I may probably pass the baton to David, just on what some of those other options would be. So,
Any concern about getting the actual meters? With all this
Good
stuff
question.
about supply chains, I'm just
so
curious.
in our conversations that I've had with the vendor, they've given me no indication at this point of that. Now,
They're salesmen, of course. they're not
things,
gonna-
well, I most of the people who I think, this is a vendor who we've had a long established relationship. All the meters we're buying now is through this vendor. So I don't believe they're telling me just what I want to hear. If there was a problem, I expect that they would tell me, and I think they would. Now, could things change? But sure. But at this point, they've not said there's any issues with that. So, we'll hope that's the case.
Good questions. Okay. Any other questions?
Do we need- No, I was just going to ask if we needed a motion. It's been so long, I couldn't remember.
I move to approve the assistance agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation for funding the American Fork City pressurized irrigation metering project as presented, and authorize the city to sign the attached agreement.
We have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilmember Carroll. I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Okay, item number, stay right there, Scott, because the next one's going to be you.
too?
The item number 8 is I am pulling from the agenda. We have one small piece of negotiation left to do on that parcel. So we'll move on to item number 9. Review and action on an ordinance repealing Chapter 10.08 of the City Code titled American Fork High School Traffic and Parking Regulation. So Scott? First of all, I guess, does anybody have any questions? Okay, Sherilyn.
This one is
I just
definitely
remember
not
you were
Scott.
talking a lot about it and key staff, so Sherilyn, take it away.
So it was recently brought to my attention that we have a provision in our code that basically regulates the property of Alpine School District. This was a code that was from 1983, I believe. It regulated it regulated the cost of parking passes, who could get them, where they could park, where teachers could park, and various other regulations. We can't tell Alpine School District what they can and can't do with the parking lot. So that is why this is before you, to repeal that from the city code.
So out of curiosity, Sherilyn, this has nothing to do with the parking passes that are needed on the city streets. This is all on property of American Fork High School.
This is the parking passes for the high school,
Gotcha.
in which they used to be free and then 25 cents if you needed a second pass.
Yeah. What was the penalty for non-compliance? Is there any negotiating power here at all, or anything of that
Be a
nature?
good big bargaining chip.
There you go.
Had we only known this when we had kids in high school, we could have had them. We could have had them inside for a quarter.
There you go.
All right. Any other questions?
No, this is good. I move to adopt the ordinance repealing chapter 10.08 of the city code titled American Fork High School Traffic and Parking Regulations.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll. Second by Councilmember Barnes, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
I noticed today, driving through just on 600, looked like there was a lot of kids parked in the Catholic Church parking lot. I have not noticed that before. I mean, a lot of kids. It wasn't just construction vehicles.
They weren't going to seminary?
I don't know. I don't know.
There's a tremendous amount of parking behind.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah. See them. I just have never noticed behind the church in that big open lot.
I just gotta know, Clark, did you drive to school? Didn't? Okay.
That team of horses was busy in the field. Pull those away.
Good job, Brian.
Okay, item number 11. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
No, do I miss one? Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, we got out early.
I meant,
Sheen came up in a hurry.
Well, I'll tell
Charlie
you
Sheen.
what.
Martin
I literally, I know where this next one's going, I think. But even in our conversation, I've already marked where you're going to vote. So please don't make me erase. Okay, review and action on an ordinance approving the vacation of apportionment of the public easement associated with 1714 and 1713 North on 700 West Circle. Any questions the council has for that? If you remember right, these are our two pools that are being,
The swimming pools.
swimming pools.
In the backyards.
All right. Yeah.
Two different
Two
properties.
different properties. Any questions for Scott? Seeing none, I'd call for a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt the ordinance approving the vacation of a portion of public utility easements at 714 North and 713 North, 700 West Circle. Nothing there is good as noting there is good cause for the vacating of said portion of the easement will not be detrimental to the public interest. That's hurtful.
That is good. Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Carroll. And I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor. Aye. Councilmember Hunter.
aye.
Thank you for that.
We were debating it there. We were
I
really
literally,
debating
I
it.
would have to scribble and make a mess of this sheet. It's pretty clean right now. Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Okay, item number 11. I have not marked it yet, so you guys don't surprise me. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Council Barnes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.